Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Now, earlier this week I was visiting my brother. He has a 2-watch collection, and realistically I was really only aware of one watch that he had. He owns a really nice Omega Seamaster GMT, which he wears pretty much all the time. And whenever I see him, that's the watch that he wears. But he has a second watch. And I knew that he had a second watch that he used when he went travelling or when he was doing something which he was a little bit concerned about getting that Omega scratched or damaged. And I was asking him about it. He went and got it for me and he pulled out this little Seiko. Now I knew it was a black looking watch. I hadn't really looked at it in depth before. It didn't really stand out to me. But as soon as he handed it to me, I realised that it might be something a little bit special, something certainly a little bit different. Now today, I'm going to show you through this watch, but I'm not going to do a full in-depth review. It's not really a watch that is currently available from Seiko. If you do look online and have a bit of a look around, you probably can find it for sale, but it's just not one of their current lineup. And I don't think there's any point in me doing a full in-depth review of a watch that's not currently available at the store. Now this watch is designated as a model SSA 057. They sort of call it a diver, but I think it's more of a sort of outdoor adventure style watch. It's something a little bit different and it's something that I really wanted to share with you because of those differences and those really interesting characteristics that this watch has to offer. Now, let's flip the camera around and I'm going to show you this watch and see if you find it as interesting as I do. So this is my brother's Seiko SSA 057. He bought the black on black variation. He wanted it to be rather understated when he goes travelling. It didn't really stand out to people. But it also comes in a stainless steel variation, which I probably actually prefer just because it shows some of the more interesting features of this watch. So as I said, I'm not going to do a full review of it, but just so you're aware, the dimensions are about 45 millimeters. It's about 14 millimeters thick or just under, and it has quite a nice 49 millimeter lug to lug. This is the original bracelet for it, and let me just show you some of these things about what makes me so excited about this watch. Firstly, if you look at the dial, you're going to see straight away that there's this sub dial. That is a 24-hour dial. It has a slightly different arrow on one side than the other, so it shows you what time of the day it is in the 24-hour format. Now that makes me think that this watch is more of an outdoor adventure watch, because that allows, if something like you're caving or if you're in an environment that is dark, then you're going to know whether it's night or day. I don't see any other really reason why you need another indicator inside this watch. You also see they've got the little date window matched in with the dial, which is quite nice. The black on black on black on black. It has these lovely hands, which I quite get excited about. They're nice hands. I do like that. It has got quite a nice sort of textured dial in there. But you're also going to be asking me, what's with these two crowns? Well, that's the next bit that is quite exciting about this watch. Down here, we have a crown for the internal bezel here. And you can see that internal bezel has a compass rose on it. So again, making me feel like it's an outdoor sort of adventure watch. And just like any other internal bezel, you turn and it moves around. It has quite a nice feel to it, has a fair bit of resistance. It just goes around smoothly, no clicks. As you probably tell, that wasn't a screw-in crown. It just sits there just like that, no screw-in effect. It's partly why I think this is only rated to 100 meters water resistance. Up here, we have a different looking crown. Another interesting feature of this watch, they don't match. This is a crown that reminds me a little bit of my Seiko Samurai. Again, it's not screw down. It is manual winding, however. It also has hacking. So that's interesting. Internal rotating bezel, which I quite like. But it also has a external normal rotating bezel, which has that very typical Seiko muted feel to it. Very nice and sturdy. So this watch has an internal and an external rotating bezel. I haven't actually seen that on many watches. I'm sure this is not the only watch to have that feature, but it made me feel, wow, that's a little bit different, a little bit interesting, and you got that 24-hour dial. What an interesting looking watch. Also has these really interesting features on the side. You can see that bezel is semi-guarded, so you have to grab onto the bezel onto the side because there's not enough, well, there's a little bit of grip on the top, but not really enough. You got to grab onto the side. You can see those sort of cutaways can line up with the bezels depending on what you're doing. The next thing that I thought was a little bit interesting is actually this bracelet. It is a pretty typical Seiko bracelet. It's a solid link bracelet. It has a fairly basic clasp on it. It's pressed steel. But as you can see, there's no fitted end links. And these are the standard ones that come with this watch. I've looked online, doesn't matter which variation you buy of this watch, that is what you get, no fitted end links. There's something a little bit different from Seiko as well. I'm not sure why they've done that, but just wanted to point that out to you. This black coating on them, as you can see, it's not fully all over the links. You can see a bit of the stainless steel through there. I think that's fairly typical for Seiko. But my brother's owned this for about 5 or 6 years. He does wear it a bit. He does wear it when he goes sailing or if he goes traveling, and it has got quite a few scratches on it because of that, but it hasn't actually scratched too far through it. There are a few bits there that you can sort of see the stainless steel. Now inside this watch we have a automatic movement, and it's obviously going to be a slightly different or a modified movement because of that 24-hour sub-dial. So let's have a look. We've got a see-through case back as well, and it tells us that it is the model 231892, obviously a Seiko movement with 24 jewels, and it's a 4R37A movement. It's actually not a bad looking movement. It does look fairly much like a lot of different Seikos, and I'm assuming it's just going to be a slightly modified movement so that it can have that 24-hour sub-dial on there. So they're the sort of basic features of the watch that I really wanted to show you. It's just a little bit different, isn't it? My brother's a little bit disappointed that it doesn't have 200 meters of water resistance, which is why I think he's ended up thinking about selling this one. But before he did so, I wanted to borrow it so I can show you on this channel. I just think it's so funky having that 24-hour dial and having that internal and external bezel. Really, really interesting. Really interesting looking. The finishing itself is not actually that great. It's just sort of looks like painted on. That's where I think the stainless steel version would probably be a little bit more interesting. So that's really all. Just a fairly quick one to show you an older Seiko from their back catalogue. Something I hadn't seen before. Something with a few really interesting different sections on it. Something that made me look at it and made me think, wow, that's a bit different and a little bit interesting. It's nice having that automatic movement as well. I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't automatic when I first handled it. I hope you find it a little bit interesting. I hope you found this video a little bit interesting, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.